Experience the inspiring journey of Maya, a woman weighed down by life struggles, broken relationships, and unanswered prayers, who refuses to give up. From nights of desperate prayer to moments of divine intervention, witness how persistence, faith, and endurance open doors once thought impossible. Every closed door, every storm, and every tear leads to miraculous breakthroughs, not only transforming her life, but touching countless others. Follow her story of hope, resilience, and unwavering trust in God as she turns despair into triumph, darkness into light, and unanswered prayers into a living legacy. Pray, believe, and watch doors open beyond imagination. In the quiet streets of the city, the morning began like any other for Maya, a woman weighed down by the relentless pressures of life. Bills piled on her kitchen table, messages from estranged friends went unanswered, and the echoes of broken relationships haunted her every step. Despite the outward normalcy of her routine, a deep unrest churned in her heart, a silent storm she could not escape. As she sipped her morning coffee, Maya's mind wandered to prayers she had whispered over the years, prayers that seemed to vanish into the void. Each unanswered plea had planted seeds of doubt, causing moments of despair to creep in like shadows at dusk. Yet, even in her skepticism, she felt a subtle tug urging her to continue, to speak into the silence with unwavering hope. In the midst of this inner turmoil, a small, almost imperceptible miracle appeared. A friend long absent from her life reached out with a word of encouragement, a reminder that she was seen, that her prayers, however quiet, were not unnoticed. This fleeting connection sparked a glimmer of hope in her weary soul, like sunlight breaking through a cloudy sky. The tension between faith and despair escalated, embodied in a recurring vision of a sturdy door, always closed, always just beyond reach. To Maya, this door symbolized the opportunities and breakthroughs she longed for, a gateway that only relentless prayer could unlock. The door became her focus, a silent challenge that demanded perseverance beyond her fatigue and doubt. Determined to see change, Maya made a vow to pray without ceasing. She poured her heart into desperate whispers and tearful confessions. Her words carried on the still morning air like a fragile lifeline to the divine. Yet, with every hour that passed, the door remained shut, its unyielding presence testing the limits of her patience and faith. As night fell, the city lights flickered, casting long shadows across her apartment. Maya knelt by the window, her voice trembling with both hope and fear, praying fervently into the darkness. The door remained closed, silent and unmoving, leaving her suspended between belief and uncertainty. Would her prayers finally be answered, or was she destined to continue in the quiet struggle alone? The morning after her silent vigil, Maya awoke with a restless heart. The shadows of the previous night still clung to her spirit, whispering doubts and questioning the power of her prayers. Yet, a small ember of hope glimmered within her, fueled by the tiny miracle from a friend that had reminded her she was not unseen. She resolved to continue, unaware that the first true battle was already approaching. By mid-morning, the world outside seemed almost hostile to her renewed faith. Colleagues dismissed her quiet optimism with sharp laughter. Friends questioned her persistence, and even family members shook their heads at her stubborn hope. Each comment acted like a weight, pressing down on her spirit, threatening to snuff out the flame of prayer she had fought so hard to keep alive. As she sat alone in her apartment, the image of the closed door haunted her once more. It had become more than a symbol. It was a test, a challenge that demanded every ounce of her determination. Maya's mind replayed her past prayers, the ones that had gone unanswered, and a creeping fear took hold. What if persistence was not enough? What if the door would never open? Desperation pulled at her, but she remembered the flicker of encouragement from her friend. That small, unexpected word had reminded her that sometimes answers come in ways that are almost invisible. Taking a deep breath, she knelt once again, whispering her prayers with renewed intensity. This time, she refused to allow the voices of doubt to drown out her faith. Hours passed, and Maya's prayers deepened into a rhythm of surrender and pleading. The city outside carried on as usual, unaware of the spiritual storm raging within her small apartment. Every knock on the door, every sound of footsteps in the hallway seemed to her like a potential sign, a messenger delivering hope or a test of patience. Suddenly, a brief interruption shook her from her trance. Her phone buzzed with a message from a stranger, someone who had witnessed her struggle in passing, and now offered a word of encouragement. It was brief, almost casual, yet it landed like a beacon in her heart. Maya realized that divine intervention often arrived quietly, disguised as ordinary events, and that faith required noticing these moments. Despite these small sparks of hope, the weight of the day's challenges pressed back. Bills still demanded attention. Relationships remained fractured, and the door stubbornly refused to budge. Frustration bubbled within her, threatening to spill over into anger at the silence she sometimes felt from God. Yet she remained, refusing to abandon the vigil she begun the night before. As evening descended, Maya's resolve hardened. She refused to allow ridicule, doubt, or exhaustion to derail her spiritual mission. The closed door loomed larger than ever, but now it carried not only the tension of denial, but also the promise of breakthrough. Each prayer she whispered seemed to chip away at the invisible barrier, her faith hammering relentlessly at the door of possibility. By nightfall, she found herself kneeling once more, tears streaking her face, voice raw and urgent. The apartment was still, the city quiet, and yet she felt the pressure of unseen forces testing her will. Shadows of fear and whispers of doubt tried to convince her to stop, but she clung to her vow. She would pray until the door opened, no matter how long it took. As the hours stretched into midnight, a strange sense of anticipation filled the room. Though the door remained closed, Maya sensed a shift, a trembling, subtle, almost imperceptible change in the air around her. Something was coming, something beyond her understanding. Her heart raced, faith and fear entwined, and she whispered one final desperate prayer for the night. I am here, waiting, believing, and I will not stop. Show me the way, Lord. The morning sun filtered through Maya's window, casting golden light across her apartment. Yet she felt the weight of the previous night pressing on her spirit. Despite the exhaustion, a strange calm settled over her, a quiet knowing that her prayers had not gone unheard. She rose with renewed determination, unaware that the day would bring an unexpected presence that could change everything. By mid-morning, a knock at her door interrupted her routine. Standing there was an unfamiliar woman, eyes kind yet piercing, offering words that seemed to reach into the depths of Maya's struggle. She introduced herself as a neighbor who had quietly observed Maya's perseverance, moved by the visible intensity of her prayer. Her presence felt almost supernatural, a tangible reminder that God often sends help in forms we do not anticipate. The woman shared stories of her own battles, tales of doors that had remained closed for years until faith and patience finally prevailed. Each word resonated deeply with Maya, like a lifeline thrown across a turbulent sea. She realized that prayer alone was powerful, but sometimes divine guidance arrived through those who walked similar paths, offering wisdom and encouragement. As they spoke, Maya felt a spark of hope ignite. The sense of isolation that had accompanied her prayers began to lift, replaced by a subtle assurance that she was not alone. Every story shared by the woman seemed to echo her own struggles, yet also hinted at the breakthroughs that lay ahead for those who persisted with unwavering faith. Throughout the day, the woman became a mentor, guiding Maya in ways to focus her prayers more intentionally. They discussed visions of the door, interpreting it as both symbolic and literal, a threshold opportunity, healing, and fulfillment. Each conversation chipped away at Maya's despair, revealing that the closed door was not a wall, but a challenge meant to refine her faith. Even as encouragement flowed, life's obstacles persisted. Unexpected bills, a tense conversation with a skeptical coworker, and lingering doubts threatened to overshadow the progress. Yet Maya began to notice subtle signs. Small coincidences, moments of clarity, and fleeting impressions that hinted at divine orchestration behind every event. By evening, Maya's apartment felt alive with anticipation. The woman shared a quiet ritual of prayer and meditation, emphasizing persistence and patience. They knelt together, voices blending in a steady rhythm, and for the first time in days, Maya sensed a shift in the spiritual atmosphere, a trembling, subtle but undeniable, as at the door she longed for had begun to respond. Later that night, alone once more, Maya reflected on the day's events. The closed door seemed less oppressive now, a challenge that could be met with persistence and guidance. She realized that answers often arrived not in grand gestures, but in small, almost imperceptible ways. A word, a touch, or the presence of someone sent at the right time. Her prayers deepened, now infused with gratitude for the unexpected ally who had appeared. Maya's heart was lighter, her faith more focused, and her resolve stronger than ever. She whispered into the night, "I will not stop. I am ready for the door to open, and I trust you, Lord, to lead me there." As midnight approached, a faint light seemed to touch the edges of her closed door. Though it remained shut, Maya felt a subtle promise in the air. The breakthrough was near, suspended between hope and suspense. She continued her vigil, aware that the next steps could finally lead her to the answer she had been seeking. Night fell over the city, casting deep shadows across Maya's apartment. The silence was thick, broken only by the occasional hum of distant traffic. But within her, a storm raged, a mixture of exhaustion, doubt, and fervent hope. She knew the breakthrough she longed for would not arrive easily. Every closed door demanded a night of wrestling and prayer. As she knelt by her window, Maya felt a peculiar tension in the air. It was as if the very room pulsed with unseen forces, testing the strength of her faith. Memories of unanswered prayers rose like waves, threatening to pull her into despair. Yet she clung to the small miracles of the past, the encouraging word from a friend, the guidance of her unexpected ally, and let them anchor her soul. The city outside seemed oblivious, yet every shadow on the walls felt alive. Maya whispered her pleas with urgency, words that trembled with both desperation and conviction. She poured her fears into prayer, naming each struggle, the bills, the loneliness, the broken relationships. Every confession was a spark cast into the darkness, a signal that she refused to surrender. Hours passed, and the night deepened. Maya's eyes grew heavy, yet she would not relent. She sensed the spiritual battle around her, a war waged on unseen plains. Every doubt and fear seemed to gather, trying to convince her that persistence was futile. But she held fast, recognizing that the intensity of the night mirrored the magnitude of the breakthrough to come. Suddenly, visions flickered behind her closed eyes, images of the door, radiant yet steadfastly shut. Each vision brought both hope and fear. Hope that the answer was near, fear that she might falter before the moment arrived. Her heart raced, a tumultuous rhythm echoing the tension of the unseen struggle she felt pressing against her. Amid the turmoil, a subtle sign appeared. A gentle breeze stirred the curtains, though the windows were closed. Maya felt it as a whisper from God, a reminder that she was heard. Her spirit soared for a moment, but the door remained closed, a challenge that demanded deeper faith, fiercer prayer, and relentless endurance. Maya's hands trembled as she rose, pacing the small apartment, reciting prayers aloud. The night stretched endlessly, each hour a test of her devotion. Yet with each repetition, her heart steadied. She began to understand that the power of prayer was not only in asking, but in the willingness to remain steadfast, even when answers seemed distant. Exhaustion gave way to revelation. In her weariness, Maya perceived a pattern in the night. The small signs, the subtle nudges, the quiet confirmation she had previously overlooked. The closed door, she realized, was not a barrier but a guide, teaching her patience, endurance, and trust. The very struggle of the night was shaping her readiness for the breakthrough to come. As the first light of dawn threatened the darkness, Maya knelt once more. Tears streaked her face, her voice a mixture of surrender and insistence. "I am here, Lord," she prayed. "I am listening, I am waiting, and I will not stop. Open the door in your time." The air around her seemed to vibrate with anticipation, a prelude to what lay ahead. In the final hours before morning, the door remained closed, but a quiet hope filled the room. Maya understood that the long night had not been wasted. It had strengthened her, sharpened her faith, and prepared her for the arrival of the ally, the guidance, and the answer that would soon appear. Suspended between night and day, she continued her vigil, ready for the moment the door would finally respond. Morning arrived with a gentle glow, softening the harsh shadows of the night. Maya, still exhausted from her vigil, felt an unusual lightness in her chest. The long night had tested her to the edge of despair, yet something subtle shifted, a whisper of hope that hinted the breakthrough was no longer distant but drawing near. As she moved through her small apartment, she noticed small signs of encouragement. a forgotten bill already resolved, a call from a friend she hadn't spoken to in months, and a message of inspiration from an unexpected source. Each coincidence felt orchestrated, almost miraculous, confirming that the prayers of the night had not been in vain. Maya's focus returned to the door, the symbol of her long-awaited breakthrough. Today, it no longer seemed impenetrable. She imagined it shimmering faintly, responding to persistence of her prayers. Each whispered plea and tearful confession of the night before seemed to chip away at its resistance, revealing that faith was steadily unraveling the obstacles in her path. The day brought unexpected encouragement from another source, a stranger who recognized her struggles and offered advice, or perhaps a timely opportunity at work that seemed almost too perfectly aligned to be mere coincidence. Maya felt a growing certainty that God was responding, that even small miracles were pieces of a larger answer beginning to form. Yet, life's pressures persisted. Bills still demanded attention. Conversations with skeptical colleagues tested her patience, and past doubts lingered like stubborn shadows. The tension between hope and despair remained, a delicate balance that required constant vigilance. But now, Maya faced these challenges with strength and heart, aware that even obstacles were part of the journey toward the door. Throughout the day, she experienced fleeting moments of clarity. She recognized patterns that had previously gone unnoticed, glimpses of divine orchestration in seemingly mundane events. The whispers of hope became louder, forming a chorus of subtle confirmations that guided her steps. Each moment reminded her that persistence in prayer could illuminate paths hidden in darkness. By evening, the anticipation in her chest had grown unbearable. The door still stood closed, yet its presence felt different, alive, responsive, and somehow inviting. Maya knelt once more, praying with renewed intensity. Her words were a mixture of gratitude and insistence, a recognition that the breakthrough was near but required her unwavering faith to fully manifest. The night deepened, and shadows stretched across the apartment. Yet, Maya no longer feared the darkness. Instead, she embraced it as a space where hope whispered most clearly, a quiet arena where faith could take root and flourish. Each tear, each whispered plea, each heartbeat became part of a rhythm that seemed to harmonize with unseen forces working in her favor. As midnight approached, a faint sense of expectation filled the room. A subtle vibration, almost imperceptible, suggested that change was imminent. Maya sensed that the door, once so firmly closed, was beginning to respond to persistence, patience, and hope she had invested over countless hours. She whispered a single prayer, heavy with faith. "I am ready, Lord. I am waiting, and I trust you completely." The chapter closed with Maya kneeling in quiet anticipation, aware that the breakthrough was no longer a distant promise, but a near reality. Suspended between hope and suspense, she remained steadfast, understanding that the door's opening was approaching, and that the answer she sought would arrive in a time orchestrated far beyond her own. The morning sun rose over the city, but Maya felt no warmth from its rays. Today, the challenges pressed heavier than ever. Bills seemed to multiply overnight. Messages from skeptical friends stung more sharply, and unresolved conflicts loomed like storm clouds over her spirit. Yet, in her heart, a quiet resolve whispered. The breakthrough was near, and she would not turn back. By mid-morning, the first real test of her persistence appeared. A sudden, unexpected crisis shook her, an urgent financial setback, a misunderstanding with a friend, or a tense confrontation at work. Each obstacle seemed designed to shake her faith, to make her question whether the hours of prayer and patience were worth the struggle. Maya felt the weight of despair pressing in, threatening to undo the progress of weeks. The closed door loomed larger than ever, its presence a silent challenge. Every doubt she had suppressed in the previous nights resurfaced, whispering that perhaps some doors were never meant to open. Yet, she clung fiercely to the small miracles she had witnessed, remembering that even a single whisper from God could defy the darkness. As the day dragged on, Maya's prayers intensified. Each whispered plea and tearful confession became a shield against the storm. She spoke with raw honesty, laying bare her fears, her frustration, and her unrelenting hope. It was a spiritual battle, fought in silence, yet every word seemed to echo into unseen realms, challenging the forces that sought to discourage her. Even as the crisis threatened to overwhelm her, signs of divine intervention began to appear. A timely phone call, an unexpected gesture of help from a stranger, or a sudden insight provided the guidance she needed. Each small victory, though subtle, reinforced the truth she had been learning. Storms were not barriers but preparation for breakthroughs. By evening, the tension reached its peak. Maya knelt by her window, the city lights casting long, trembling shadows across her apartment. The door remained closed, yet she sensed it trembling under the weight of her faith. Her spirit wavered, but she refused to give in. Every storm she endured had a purpose. Every test a lesson in patience, endurance, and unwavering belief. The night deepened, and the storm within her heart mirrored the chaos outside. Fear, doubt, and temptation surged like waves, threatened to pull her into surrender. Yet, in the midst of this turbulence, Maya felt a calm assurance, a whisper of hope that reminded her God was orchestrating the unfolding events, and that the door was only moments away from opening. She rose, pacing her apartment as her prayers became declarations. I will not be moved. I will not stop. The door will open in your time, Lord. Her voice carried urgency, but also an unshakable trust. Each word struck like a hammer against the invisible barriers of fear and doubt, shaking the foundations that had kept the door closed for so long. As midnight approached, Maya sensed the storm reaching its climax. The trials, the doubts, the obstacles, all seemed concentrated into this singular, pivotal moment. And yet, amidst the chaos, a subtle vibration, a faint glimmer of light at the edges of the door, suggested that the breakthrough was no longer a distant hope, but an imminent reality. The chapter closed with Maya kneeling in the quiet of her apartment, exhausted yet unyielding. The door remained closed, but the atmosphere thrummed with anticipation. She understood now that storms were the final test before miracles, and with unwavering faith, she whispered into the night, I am ready, Lord. I trust you completely. Let the door open. The first light of dawn crept into Maya's apartment, bathing the room in a soft, golden glow. The night had been long, the storm fierce, but something in the air had shifted. The door she had longed to see open no longer felt like an impossible barrier. It pulsed with possibility, a tangible promise that her relentless prayers were about to be answered. By mid-morning, subtle signs of change began to surface. Bills were resolved in unexpected ways. A reconciliation with a friend took an unanticipated turn, and opportunities at work appeared that seemed almost miraculous in their timing. Each small breakthrough fueled Maya's hope, reinforcing the understanding that persistence and faith had drawn these blessings into alignment. The door, always steadfast and closed, now shimmered faintly in her mind's eye. It seemed to respond to the rhythm of her prayers, to the tears, to the hope that refused to die. Maya knelt, hands clasped tightly, and whispered words of gratitude and insistence, knowing that the culmination of her endurance had arrived. A knock at the door of her apartment startled her. When she opened it, she found the unexpected ally from weeks past, holding an envelope containing an opportunity that would change her life. Their eyes met, sharing a silent acknowledgement that the waiting, the praying, and the wrestling had led to this moment of divine orchestration. The day unfolded with a series of confirmations. Each phone call, message, and chance encounter seemed perfectly timed, reinforcing that her prayers had been heard. Maya realized that every obstacle, every doubt, every night of fervent prayer had been shaping her readiness to receive the breakthrough fully and without hesitation. By evening, the symbolic door she had envisioned for so long finally opened, not in a grand, thunderous way, but quietly, profoundly, and irrevocably. The opportunity she had prayed for, healing in relationships, financial provision, clarity and purpose, were now within reach, and the door was no longer a barrier but a threshold to a new season of life. Tears streamed down Maya's face as she crossed the threshold, a mixture of relief, joy, and awe filling her heart. The city outside continued its rhythm, unaware of the spiritual victory that had just unfolded within her small apartment. Yet, Maya understood that the breakthrough was not just about answered prayers. It was a testament to the power of persistence, endurance, and unwavering faith. Friends and colleagues began to notice the transformation, where doubt and despair once lingered in her presence, now radiated confidence, peace, and hope. Maya shared the story of her journey, of the night spent in prayer, the storms weathered, and the small, miraculous signs that had guided her to this moment. Her testimony became a beacon for others still standing before their own closed doors. That night, as the city lights flickered, Maya knelt once more, not in desperation, but in gratitude. "Thank you, Lord," she whispered, "for hearing me, for guiding me, and for opening the door at the perfect time. I trust you completely, now and forever." The air around her seemed lighter, filled with a profound sense of divine presence and fulfillment. The chapter closed with Maya standing at the threshold of her new life, the door wide open, a symbol of answered prayers and unwavering faith. She understood that the journey had transformed her, that every trial, every storm, and every moment of persistent prayer had prepared her for this breakthrough. Suspended between gratitude and awe, she stepped forward, ready to embrace all that lay beyond. Morning broke over the city with a brilliance Maya had never noticed before. The world seemed more vivid, more alive, as if her own breakthrough had changed not just her life, but the way she perceived everything around her. The door she had long prayed for now stood open behind her, yet her gaze was fixed on the path ahead, a path filled with promise, opportunity, and purpose. As she stepped into the day, Maya felt a surge of confidence that had been absent for years. The struggles of the past, the financial burdens, broken relationships, and nights of desperate prayer were now part of her strength. She understood that each challenge had been necessary, each closed door a preparation for the fullness of what awaited beyond. The city itself seemed to respond to her transformation. Small miracles continued to unfold. Unexpected support from friends, doors opening at work, and reconciliations that had once seemed impossible. Maya realized that the breakthrough was not a single event but a cascade of answers, each connected to the faith and persistence she had nurtured in the quiet of the night. Her heart was full of gratitude, but she also recognized a deeper calling. The journey had not been for her alone. Every struggle, every answered prayer, had equipped her to help others facing their own closed doors. She began to reach out, offering encouragement, sharing her testimony, and praying for those who had not yet seen the light of breakthrough. By midday, the impact of her transformation was evident. Friends and colleagues noticed a shift, not just in circumstances, but in her spirit. Where despair had once lingered, hope now radiated. Maya's story became a living example that faith, persistence, and prayer could open doors even when all seemed lost. Each person she touched felt the subtle echo of her journey, inspired to persevere in their own trials. Evenings took on a new dimension. Maya no longer prayed from a place of desperation, but from gratitude and expectation. Her prayers were richer, deeper, and more purposeful, flowing from heart attuned to divine timing and guidance. The door, once a symbol of longing, now represented alignment with God's plan. A constant reminder that answered prayers often arrive when preparation meets divine timing. Maya also discovered a renewed sense of self-worth and courage. The trials that had once defined her life no longer held power over her. She carried herself with a quiet assurance, knowing that persistence and faith could move mountains and transform even the darkest nights into dawns of hope. The door had opened, but the journey beyond it was only beginning. At night, as she knelt in prayer, Maya reflected on the entirety of her journey. The storms, the long nights, the whispered hopes, all had shaped her into someone ready to receive and to give. She thanked God not just for the answered prayers, but for the strength, endurance, and clarity gained along the way. Each tear and whispered plea had mattered. Every moment of doubt had been a stepping stone to resilience and wisdom. Her transformation rippled outward. Maya began mentoring others, guiding them through their own struggles, helping them see that closed doors were not the end but a call to faith. Her life became a testament to the power of relentless prayer, a living news report of hope, perseverance, and divine timing that inspired all who heard it. The chapter, and the story, closed with Maya standing at the threshold of her new life, a radiant figure of faith fulfilled. The door remained open, a symbol of opportunity seized, prayers answered, and hope restored. As she stepped forward, she carried with her a message for the world. Pray without ceasing, hold on to faith, and the doors you long for will open in ways beyond imagination. The city awoke under a sky painted with hues of gold and rose. Yet for Maya, this morning felt different from any other. The door she had long prayed open now stood behind her as a symbol of answered faith, but the world ahead shimmered with possibilities she had never dared to imagine. Each step she took carried the weight of her past struggles and the lightness of newfound freedom. Even as she walked the familiar streets, Maya noticed subtle transformations in everything around her. Conversations held new meaning, opportunities seemed to present themselves without effort, and the people she encountered mirrored the change she felt inside. The city, once cold and indifferent, now seemed alive with affirmation, echoing the rhythm of her prayers. Maya's heart swelled with gratitude, yet she understood that this was not the conclusion but a continuation. The breakthrough had shifted her life, but the lessons of persistence, faith, and endurance now needed to be shared. She felt a calling to become a beacon for others navigating their own closed doors, to guide them through storms she had once endured. As the day progressed, small miracles continued to manifest. A long-lost friend reached out for reconciliation. Financial burdens eased through unexpected means, and opportunities arose that aligned perfectly with her gifts and passions. Each event reinforced the truth Maya had come to know. Prayer, persistence, and faith did not just move doors. They moved lives. The symbolic door behind her now seemed almost a relic of the struggle rather than a challenge. She reflected on the night spent in desperate prayer, the whispered confessions and the storms that had threatened to break her spirit. Each moment had been preparation for this new dawn, a transformation that would carry her forward and inspire those still waiting for their own answers. By evening, Maya had begun to mentor others, sharing her journey and encouraging them to remain steadfast in faith. Her story became a living testament to the power of perseverance, echoing like a news report of hope and inspiration. People began to see her not only as someone who received answers, but as a guide who illuminated the path toward their own breakthroughs. The night sky descended with stars twinkling like distant promises. Maya knelt in quiet reflection, no longer in desperation, but in awe of what had been accomplished. She thanked God not just for the opening of the door, but for the transformation within, the endurance she had cultivated, and the opportunity to impact others through her story. The door, once a symbol of longing, now stood fully behind her, a monument of faith fulfilled and patience rewarded. Maya understood that this journey was ongoing. Each answered prayer led to new responsibilities, new opportunities, and a deeper calling to live a life aligned with purpose and gratitude. In her heart, she felt a profound sense of peace. The storms, the nights of persistent prayer, and the doubts that once shadowed her life now seemed like necessary steps toward growth. Each challenge had forged resilience. Each tear had watered seeds of faith, and each whispered plea had carved a path to divine fulfillment. The chapter closed with Maya stepping into the dawn fully aware of her transformed life. She carried with her the lessons of persistence, the joy of answered prayers, and the calling to uplift others. The city, once indifferent, now seemed to reflect the light she carried, as if announcing to the world that those who pray without ceasing will find doors open beyond imagination. Dawn broke over the city with a brilliance that seemed almost supernatural. Maya stood at the threshold of her life fully transformed, the door that had once symbolized longing now a permanent monument to answered prayers. The journey had been long, filled with storms, doubts, and sleepless nights, yet she now understood that the trials had been forging her for this ultimate season of purpose and light. Every step she took resonated with the lessons of her journey. The city, once indifferent and gray, now shimmered with opportunity, hope, and promise. Each interaction, each smile from strangers and friends alike, seemed imbued with divine orchestration. Maya felt as if the very air around her vibrated with a sense of destiny, affirming that persistence in prayer had not only opened doors, but also illuminated her path in ways she could never have imagined. News of her breakthrough began to ripple outward. Friends, neighbors, and colleagues shared her story, inspired by the miraculous changes in her life. Maya became more than a figure of personal triumph. She became a symbol of faith fulfilled, a living report of hope, and a testament to the transformative power of persistent prayer. Her life now carried a resonance that touched hearts and stirred belief in the seemingly impossible. Despite the acclaim and attention, Maya remained grounded. She understood that the door she had prayed for was not the endpoint, but the beginning of a life devoted to higher purpose. Her prayers now flowed with gratitude and vision, focused on helping others discover the power of unwavering faith, guiding them through their own storms toward the light she had found. The challenges she had faced, The financial struggles, broken relationships, and long nights of doubt now seemed like a distant memory, yet their lessons were indelibly etched into her spirit. She walked through the city with a serene confidence, aware that the storms had strengthened her resolve and faith. The door had opened, but the journey beyond it was a testament to endurance, trust, and eternal presence of divine guidance. By midday, Maya was actively mentoring those who had reached out in hope and desperation. Her apartment became a quiet hub of prayer, encouragement, and guidance. Each person who crossed the threshold experienced the energy of her journey. The weight of struggle transformed into light, despair turned into hope, and unanswered prayers met persistent faith. Her influence became a ripple effect, touching lives far beyond her own. Evening arrived with a deep, tranquil calm. Maya knelt in silent reflection, not to ask for more, but to acknowledge what had been given. She praised God for the journey, for the storms that had tempered her spirit, and for the open doors that had transformed her reality. The experience had taught her that persistence in prayer was not about forcing outcomes, but about aligning herself with divine timing and purpose. The symbolic door behind her, once a distant vision, now stood fully open, a permanent marker of faith realized. Yet Maya understood that the true breakthrough was not in the door itself, but in the transformation it had brought within her: resilience, patience, unwavering belief, and a heart ready to serve. The door had become both a milestone and a metaphor for all who sought divine intervention in their lives. Night fell with the city glowing beneath a canopy of stars. Maya felt a profound sense of peace, fulfillment, and eternal hope. The trials of the past, the sleepless nights, and the moment of doubt had culminated in a life fully aligned with purpose. She whispered one final prayer of gratitude. "Thank you, Lord, for every closed door, every answered prayer, and every step that led me to the light. May I now walk it fully, and may others follow in faith." The chapter and the story closed with Maya stepping forward into the eternal light of her life's new season. The city, once a backdrop to struggle, now mirrored her inner transformation. Her journey became an enduring testimony. Those who persist in prayer, who hold on to faith through storms and darkness, will find doors opened, lives transformed, and a light that shines eternally. The city hummed with the rhythm of daily life, but Maya's world had changed entirely. The breakthrough she had prayed for weeks ago now seemed like only the beginning. Doors had opened, miracles had unfolded, yet she felt a deeper calling, a responsibility to ensure that her journey did not end with herself. By mid-morning, Maya received messages from strangers inspired by her story. Some sought guidance for personal struggles. Others prayed for financial relief or reconciliation in broken relationships. She realized that her answered prayers had become a beacon, and every act of sharing her story was another ripple in the sea of faith. The symbolic door she had fought so hard open now served as a metaphorical gateway for others. Maya began hosting small gatherings, sharing her testimony, and praying with those who had lost hope. Each session became electric with emotion, a mix of tears, laughter, and spiritual awakening, confirming that answered prayers could ignite hope far beyond personal boundaries. Unexpectedly, new challenges arose. Some people doubted her message, questioning whether miracles were truly possible. Others tried to take advantage of her generosity. Each encounter became a test, reminding Maya that even after doors opened, vigilance, wisdom, and discernment remained crucial in navigating life's new season. Midday brought an unexpected miracle. A family she had helped through prayer shared news of a long-sought reconciliation that had happened overnight. Tears streamed down their faces as they expressed gratitude. Maya realized that her persistence in prayer had not only transformed her own life, but was now catalyzing transformations for countless others. By evening, Maya felt an overwhelming sense of responsibility. She had become more than a survivor of storms. She was a guide, a messenger, and a living example of hope in action. The ripple effect of her faith extended beyond her immediate circle, touching communities she had never imagined reaching. The night deepened, and Maya reflected on her journey. Each closed door, every sleepless night, and all moments of doubt had been preparing her not only for personal breakthrough, but for the ability to uplift others. The ripple effect was the ultimate reward of persistence and prayer. Transformation multiplied exponentially. Even in solitude, she sensed divine presence. The same whisper that had guided her through storms now encouraged her to expand her mission. She recognized that answered prayers were not just about fulfillment, but about stewardship, using blessings to create hope, joy, and faith in others. The symbolic door had changed once again. No longer a barrier. It became a bridge connecting her story to the lives of countless people. Every knock on her door, every call or message from someone seeking guidance, felt like another proof that perseverance in prayer could generate eternal impact. As the city slept beneath a blanket of stars, Maya knelt in quiet prayer, her heart full of gratitude and resolve. Thank you, Lord, for the doors you have opened and for the lives I can now touch. May every step I take continue to spread your light, and may this ripple effect reach far beyond what I can see. The chapter closed with her poised to embrace this new mission, knowing that faith, prayer, and persistence had created a legacy that would outlast her own lifetime.